We're going to have a look at Layla by Eric Clapton, just the opening section here, then I'm going to do a different video with the chords and the lyrics on it. So here's the opening riff. And then you got the lead line, which is... Okay, so let's share screen. We'll do the lower riff first. So here's what it looks like. We're just going to start with the 5th string, and it's a 0-3 hammer. So you play the 0 on the 5th string, and with your fretted hand, you've got a hammer on that 3rd fret. So here we go. So play the 0, hammer on the 3. So I see a lot of people get confused with the hammer. When they hammer the 3 on, they pluck it as well. So literally you're just plucking the 0, hammering the 3 with this hand, and because you're hammering it, it creates the noise of the 3. So okay, we can move quicker through it now we've clarified that. So let's move to the 4th string, and it's a 0-3 hammer, and then pulling the note off. So you don't lift the note off, you gotta pluck it off with this finger. So 0-3, and then pluck it off with this finger. So what might happen is you might catch the strings below, so you gotta sort of be a bit small with the pull off. So you got, and the next 2 notes are a lot easier. You use your 3 on the 5th string, and then 0 on the 4th string. I just use my 2nd finger because I think it's got a bit more power to do the hammer on and pull offs. Oh, the 1st finger's alright, but I just favour this. I feel I got more space with my 2nd finger. So pull off. Okay, so now I just need to clarify what a power chord is. So a power chord is a shape that you can play, and it's the same every time you do a power chord. So it's putting your 1st finger on a string anywhere on any fret, and then you got to put another finger on the next string down but 2 frets across, and what you do is pluck both of them strings. Now this power chord starts on the 5th string, 5th fret. So if I was to put the power chord extra note on it, it'd be the next string down 2 frets across, and I'd just be plucking them 2 strings. Now I'd favour using my little finger, because if you use your 3rd, this tends to be what happens with beginners and that. You'll put your finger here, and then this one will be the wrong side of the fret, so you might get this sort of sound. And you might find it hard to stretch across there to get a nice clean sound, but if you notice, your little finger falls naturally, and you're probably thinking, well, my little finger doesn't have much power, but if you place it right up against the fret, not on the fret but up against it, you hardly have to apply any pressure anyway. So it is handy to start getting used to this on power chords. And another tip is, when you're doing a power chord, not always do you want to hook your fingers round like that, because if you accidentally catch the strings below, it sounds awful. With your little finger, it's easy to get your chord flat, your fingers flat rather than hooked. So flat. And what happens is, on the 3rd, 2nd and 1st string, look, they're muted. So I'm just like placing my hand on like that, kind of flat, just pushing on the notes I need, right up to the edge of the frets, and listen. So here as well, I'm pushing up against the 6th string with this finger, and there I've got freedom to just strum without going, because, you know, I'm sure Pete Townsend, when he's doing big windmills, he's not specifically picking out the 5th and 4th string every time. You know, he just strums them all, and the muting comes from here. So that's a bit of a tips on power chords. So our first power chord is on the fifth fret, 5th string. So I wouldn't look at the highest number, the 7 there, because it might make you think that, oh, I've got to go to the 7th fret. Look at the lowest number of a power chord, which is the 5th fret, 5th string, and then you put the power chord on, which is the 2nd string, the next string down 2 frets across, which is going to be a bigger number. So that's your first power chord. And then you go down to the 3rd fret. So you've got this so far, and then you're going to go again down to the 1st fret. So you can see that goes down in steps. So if you can get the muting, but if not, don't worry about that. It's just good to know that's where you're going to go to in the future. But if you can't do it, just pick the 2 strings, that's fine. It's just so that you have a heads up of how to get it sounding good in the future. If you're struggling with that technique, maybe just ditch it for now. Know it's there, but know that you're going to master it in the future. Okay, so that last power chord there we've done here, we've got this kind of thing going on here. So let me just zoom it up so I can show you the first bit. So if you do the power chord on the 1st fret, then take your 1st finger off and leave your little finger on, you're left with a 0 and a 3. So it goes, and then here's why it's good as well using your little finger here, because the next note you need the 3rd fret on the top string, so you're going to use your 3rd finger for that. So, and what will happen is this 3rd finger will naturally mute the 5th string anyway, so you don't want to hook your fingers out the way and hear that open 5th string. So that's what we got there. So with the first power chords you got, alright, so then we have the same thing happening. So we move up to the 3rd fret, and so 3rd fret power chord, so on the 5th string, and then you take off your 1st finger. So that's the same sort of movement as down here. You've got this, but this time instead of your 3rd finger coming over here, you just lift your 1st finger up to this 3rd fret there. So your 1st finger's doing all the work on this bit. Yeah. And then the last chord is a power chord. Let me just shift this over, on the 5th fret. So really you're heading down this direction and then back up with the power chords, but obviously when you go, something happens here and then here, but the direction is moving down and then back up. That's the direction of the movement. So I'll show you that very slowly. So time. So and then with the strumming. Okay, so I'm going to just play it one more time, but with the tab in front of us. So you might want to loop this and rewind it and stuff. So one more time. So if you're enjoying the content that I'm creating, please subscribe, it'll help me to keep making more videos. Okay, so that's the opening riff. This looks kind of scary here, but just to make it easier on you, it is virtually repeated 4 times, so it's not too bad. And as well, it's kind of like the opening riff, but a couple of octaves higher. So we're going to start on the 2nd string and a 10-13 hammer. So you've got to press on the 10 on the 2nd string and hammer on the 13. See that? And what I'm doing is I'm just keeping that 10 down there. I'm not lifting that off, because you might lift it off before you've had a chance to hammer it on. So play the 10, hammer on the 13. And then on the 1st string, you're doing the same. 10, hammer on the 13 and pull off that 13. So you want this 10 to be permanently down. Hammer on the 13. This might take a little bit of practice. The reason you don't want to go picking every note is because it sounds a bit robotic. That's why you have the hammer on and pull off, so it's smooth. Listen. Rather than you can see how it adds some smoothness to the line. So here you go, and then it ends on 13. Well, it doesn't end. The next bit is 13 on the 2nd string and back to 10 on the 1st string. So you got. And you can gradually speed it up. And then the next interesting bit is this little bend on the 13th fret on the 1st string there. So you get on the 13th fret and it's a bend up and down. Now that bend up has got to sound like 2 frets above, so you might want to. So if you play the 13 and play 2 frets up, which is the 15. So when you bend this 13, it's got to sound like this 15. So when you're bending a note, it raises the pitch. I know that's obvious to some people, but not everyone. So that's called a full bend. A full bend is where it goes up 2 frets worth. So we'll get onto what half a bend is, because it happens at the end. So we're doing a full bend up and down on that 13th fret there. So where am I? So you got to hold it up and down. So, and then you play the 12th fret. And then the last 2 notes, you play 13 on the 2nd string and then 10 on the 1st string. So I'm just going to play that little line at the end. Okay, so putting that together is. I'll do that one more time. See, I'm not using my little finger because I think my 3rd finger's pretty strong, and I can do everything there with my 1st, 2nd and 3rd finger. Okay, so the next line, nice and easy, exactly the same, but the only difference is if I compare it to the line above, this is the 13th fret, where this is the 15th fret. So just practice, get on the 15th fret, and it should sound like the 17th fret. So bend it up and down, and then to the 12, 13, 10, little jazzy. You want to jazz it up a little bit there. To the 12. So that riff with the 15 bend. To the 15. 12. So I'll do one after the other. Okay, so the next two lines, if you can see here, the first one's exactly the same, bend on the 13th. And the last one, it bends on the 15th, but the very last notes are different. So I'll do the bend on the 15th, then go 12, 13th on the next line, and then it's a half bend, which means if I play the 13th fret and then play the 14th fret, you've got to bend it to sound like that. Hear that? If I go too far, it gets 2 frets across. That's a full bend. So I want half a bend. So you can hear that sounds like that. It's a real art to getting the bends in tune, really. You've got to use your ears. A lot of things on guitar are easy because you're pressing down and you've got the sound of the fret, but when it gets to bending, you've got to hear that it's in tune. So from that 15 bend up and down to 12. What do you do when you get lonely? You can hear it sort of leading into that, the key change of the song. That's what makes that song quite nice when it breaks into that that little verse, like the key change shift. Okay, I hope that helps you. That's good fun, good to practice. It's in the key of the original as well. So the main riff is a mixture of the two main parts together. So it sort of gives you the best of both worlds, like the rhythm and the lead. So, alright, I hope that helps. Let me know how you get on. Thank you, bye.